Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. If you're watching online at onespotmedia.com, a special welcome to you. A woman was a few hours ago shot and injured in the vicinity of the Sovereign Center in St. Andrew. Details are still limited as the police are in the initial stages of their investigation. However, reports to our news center are that about 10 o'clock, there was an altercation between a man believed to be a licensed firearm holder and a man who wipes windscreens at the stoplight. The firearm holder fired at the other man, but the bullet missed its intended target and hit a woman who had just exited the business place on the plaza. The woman was rushed to hospital, but the extent of her injuries is not known. And we'll be tracking that to give you an update as soon as it becomes available. 3 persons are dead following a fire at a nightclub in Port Maria, St. Mary this morning. The charred remains of the individuals were found during cooling down operations. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
Fire, smoke, a burnt building. Onlookers and a police vehicle with flashing blue lights helped tell the tale of what took place at the landmark nightclub in Trinity, Port Maria, St. Mary Thursday morning. It's reported that the fire started sometime after 3 o'clock. Deputy Superintendent from the Port Maria Fire Station, Andrew Wildman, says the brigade was alerted shortly before 4:30.
A team was dispatched from Port Maria, and upon arrival, we recognized the building fully engulfed in flames. We sought assistance from the Ocharias team, and in total we had 15 persons and 2 units battling this flame.
The remains of 3 women were found in the rubble during cooling down operations. It's understood that they were employed as dancers at the nightclub. In the meantime, onlookers who stood outside the nightclub discussed the tragedy they had awoken to. A man who lived in close proximity to the club said it closed shortly before the fire broke out.
When I looked through my window, I saw smoke and flame coming from below me down at the club. So I got up and I came out, and along with others we were watching what was happening. And so they were saying to me, oh, then don't see anybody run out, because I understand it was somebody from within the premises cry out for fire. So I turned to them and say, I think they gone through the back because they have side doors and so on. Only to discover this morning that 3 bodies were found in the fire.
Nothing was saved. The cause of the fire is unknown, but it's speculated that reinforcement was done to the building, which could have prevented the females from escaping.
I heard that they reinforced the building that nobody can break in from outside, or even when the dancers recline to bed. They have no entrance to come into the bar area, the club area. So probably they were hemmed in by bars or so on. But it's a tragedy, that's all I can say.
A motor car on the property was also burnt out.
The building is extensively damaged. The costing for the building, we are still working that out in terms of what was in the building and so on. So we can't give a costing right now.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
The Westmoreland police are confirming that gunmen fleeing the state of public emergency in St. James are influencing the increase in violent crimes in their parish. Westmoreland has been rocked by Tuesday's killing of 7 persons in 3 communities in the parish and the injuring of 10 others, all at the hands of gunmen. Among the casualties were 2 children. Head of the Westmoreland Police Division, Superintendent Gary Mackenzie, says his observation is that the displacement of criminals from St. James, along with organized crime, are major contributing factors to the situation in Westmoreland. He gave a summary of the situation.
Well, no doubt we have some of that is happening. Of course, we know that where criminals are not able to be comfortable and carry out their activities, they will seek to go into other grounds. But one of the things that we also know is that there is organized criminal activities which pervade in sections of Westmoreland, and we have had to be dealing with those. We have a number of gangsters that we have arrested, and they are facing the court, but there are also others.
And amidst the escalation of killings in Westmoreland, opposition senators on Wednesday again questioned the government's national crime-fighting strategy. The Senate debated and passed a resolution for an extension of the state of public emergency in St. James, but there are calls for evidence of an island-wide initiative. Murder figures down in St. James and St. Catherine North the two areas where states of emergency have been in effect. But opposition Senator Lambert Brown says news headlines for the rest of the country tell a different story.
7 killed yesterday, 20 had shot in Westmoreland. And don't mention the other 2 we hear about today. 4 people found in shallow graves in Clarendon, multiple gunshot wounds. Well, multiple gunshots. People in Maypen this week, Monday night, standing up, 4 shot, 2 dead. 2 killed in Trenchtown in front of their mother.
The opposition senators argue that the mismanagement of the limited crime-fighting resources is at the core of the upsurgent killings in several other parishes.
Westmoreland, where we have had a 16% or more increase in murders, is the casualty of that. So we need a plan that not only that must also look at Montego Bay, but it must look at the rest of the country, because the rest of the country is bleeding.
But Government Senator Pernell Charles Jr. explained to the Senate that the current measures are critical to the government's plan in spite of its flaws.
Mr. President, I do not lightly support the state of emergency. Because in 1976 it was my father and my family that was followed around. Don't believe that I lightly stand up here because I am a government senator and support it. But what else? What is the option? To leave Jamaica to burn up? Mr. President, the government isn't standing here and saying this is the only thing we're going to do. It's a slew of solutions that we're trying to push forward to protect our people.
There is a national security and defense plan, which is Plan Secure Jamaica, which the Prime Minister spoke about and which he outlined in his first budget. And that is the document which is all-encompassing. Murders and shootings, the triple threat that I spoke of earlier, gangs, guns, guns. Those are the challenges that we're dealing with now.
The Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, is tightening its rules when persons apply for a licensed firearm. Chief Executive Officer Shane Dalling says if the home is not secured, then the individual may not be granted a license.
And after we have certified that the premises are secured to hold a firearm, you must also have a safe to store the firearm when not being used. And once those are certified, then the license can be granted to you. When persons are leaving to go overseas, the firearm must, be left at the authority.
Mr. Darling also said that if persons are going overseas, leaving the firearm at home is not an appropriate thing to do, as most times criminals break in and the firearm is stolen. Now, one former member of parliament is calling for more in-depth investigations to be carried out by the police if there is to be any reduction in the number of criminals plaguing the nation's streets. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has that story.
Do more investigations. That's the call from former MP for Central St. James and Managing Director of the Western Mirror, Lloyd B. Smith, as he expressed concern about the rate of convictions being brought against criminals. Mr. Smith laments that too often criminals are caught, and due to the lack of proper investigations by the police, the criminals are set free.
I think that the criminals feel that they have a great deal of leverage in terms of committing heinous acts and getting away with them based on the rather creaky justice system and the very poor level of investigative work being done by the police.
He is therefore calling for members of the JCF to get into the practice of ascertaining substantial evidence in getting these criminals behind bars.
Too often we see where very hardened criminals get away. And so I think that is an area that we need to see a great deal of showing up in. And I strongly suggest that in that particular area, the government should seek international help. And we have slick lawyers out there who can easily wrap these police officers around and get their clients off. So we need a greater level of investigative work being done based on sustained intelligence forensic evidence, use all the necessary technological advances that are out there.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
2 Chinese nationals who were charged 2 weeks ago in a CTOC crackdown on counterfeit goods being sold in downtown Kingston had their bail extended when they appeared before the St. Andrew Parish Court yesterday. Zhang Pinpin and Zaya Young are to return to court on June 4. They have been charged under the Consumer Protection Act, the Trademark Act and the Customs Act. CTOC raided a store operated by the 2 Chinese nationals on Barry Street and seized counterfeit goods valued at more than $100 million. The industry. Founder and director of UK-based non-government organization Generating Genius, Dr. Tony Sewell, wants the issue of boys underperforming in schools to be tackled from the primary level. He was among a group of stakeholders in the education sector raising concerns about the lack of gender equity in schools and its impact on the performance of boys in the classroom. We have more in this report.
Boys can learn. The mantra by several stakeholders who raised concerns about the underperformance of boys island-wide. They were addressing the launch of Boys in Education Week held in Kingston on Tuesday. The week of activities is a collaborative approach in the education sector aimed at addressing gender equity in the classroom. Founder and director of UK-based non-government organization Generating Genius, Dr. Tony Sewell, is urging teachers to adjust school curricula to better meet the educational needs of boys. He's suggesting the use of soft skills such as conflict management.
What we need to do is find the expectation is not necessarily that you always have to come to where they are all the time. What they're looking for actually is some grown-ups in the place. They're actually looking for somebody somewhere who's going to actually take them somewhere exciting, and that's different. But it's a wider range than what they've had before. They're learning something new. They've been exposed to something new. That's your job. That's your job. That means you can do it.
He also added that role play can help teach boys how to respond in various situations. And he stressed that boys should be seen as assets in the classroom in order to improve the way they are taught.
Part of the problem is that when you're building the capacity of boys, and it does go for girls as well, but specifically for boys, you have to lay down this notion of risk, quite high risk, and I wouldn't say unsafe, but certainly stretching and challenging them in a way that they haven't before.
Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
We need help. That's the assertion from farmers in Seamans Valley, Portland, as they complain that there's no market for their produce, particularly bananas. We have more in this report.
Farmers in Seamans Valley, Portland are complaining about a glut on the market. They say the excess produce is stifling their business.
We plant with stuff, get no market, nobody now come buy nothing from we. Nothing at all. When you go curry, you know, as me tell you, if we want $15 for one and a banana, and you come and say you want and a banana, but you have $5. We have to give you the $5 because sometimes you did it from 5 o'clock in the morning, you come overnight, sleep overnight, and you still not sell a price where you want.
Right now you have to be skilled just like a mechanic, because you got the produce. But when you have the produce, sometimes that produce is not too much up on the market. It kind of mash up the market. People do too much of one thing, like everybody want to plant banana, and banana too much, so sometimes only the chips truck. If you don't care to the coronation market, otherwise you don't have no other market. So maybe one chip truck might come in, so the other rest leave to spoil on the ground, see.
The farmers added that it's costly to maintain production as they are making little to no profit, and so they are appealing to the government for assistance.
My grandpeople tell me say ship used to dock at Port Antonio, in the marina down there, and come and, you know, and get ships load of banana and transport it to other country. Yet still we have the best produce, but no sales, you understand? Me would like to see the market come back down there. You understand? The ship park back down there and trucks filling it up. That's what we would like to see.
Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
And we go now to sports. Title favorite Michael Wasp Gardner hardly broke a sweat as he scored a sensational first-round technical knockout win over Canada's Jason Kelly in their Ray and Nephew Contender Series fight last night at the Chinese Benevolent Association. Making a return to the contender ring for the first time in 2 years, Gardner knocked down Kelly twice in the first minute of the fight to give the Jamaicans a 4-1 lead in the series. Gardner, who lost the 2016 semi-final to eventual winner DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley, now moves to the quarter-final round of the competition.
I got stuck with fighting Michael Gardner the first fight. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew that it could have been done in the first round. I wanted to be smart. I think I was too cautious and wasn't throwing. I should have came out boxing instead of come out just being afraid of getting hit, right? And
definitely. You can come and expect a show anytime Wass is in the ring. That's what they do, sting. I mean, it was there open for the shot. I mean, it came back wide. I just slip in a straight left, and that's where it went down.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Prime Time News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.